Hello, and welcome to the Thanksgiving week edition of the OK Preps Extra Podcast. It's Monday, November 21st. I'm Patrick Prince, joined as always by our high school writers, Barry Lewis and Dean Rule. Guys, we got some really great games this Friday to jump into, but first, let's recap last week a little bit. Barry, your biggest takeaway from last week's playoff games was what?
Was Jenks pulling off arguably its greatest fourth quarter comeback in its long and storied tradition rich football history. I mean, of all the state championships they've won, I mean, as far as like a total fourth quarter comeback, I'm not saying there have been, I mean, it was as dramatic a finish as you could expect. And they've had some other great dramatic final seconds of games and playoffs. But as far as just a total fourth quarter comeback, that's it. That's number one in Jenks history, as far as I'm concerned. So that's my takeaway, as well as McGinnis beating Coweta. It's like Coweta had such a great season, but you could see that one coming a mile away. McGinnis with all the playoff tradition and all the experience, and Coweta just doesn't have that. And so it wasn't surprising that McGinnis came away with the victory, a hard-fought 35-28 win.
Real quick, Barry, tell us the Jenks kid who blocked the kick that would have sent it to OT.
Well, Dean would tell you more about that. The thing is, this is the second time in 3 weeks they've had a huge win blocking a kick at the end of the game to win the game, to walk off with the win. And the same player was involved both times, Dean.
Yeah, so to explain that setup a little bit, that final Mustang offensive drive, Sam Stone looks like he's got an interception. Ball gets tipped around midfield, and it looks like Sam Stone intercepts this. Referees come in, discuss a little bit, say, no, it hit the ground. Mustang, leans on Jacoby Johnson because he's Jacoby Johnson. They get it down inside the 10. 4 seconds left. This game looks ready to go to overtime. Final snap. Ball's a little high, but nothing too crazy. Set up. All of a sudden, Milton White just opens this hole for Jenks, and Hudson Ball and Ashton Cunningham both shoot back there, both dive out, and that ball gets knocked out. I believe it was Hudson Ball. Hudson Ball says it was him. Keith Riggs said it was Ashton Cunningham. So one of the two were the ones responsible for that blocked field goal. Maybe give a half point to each there because it was close. I'll say that. It was one of the two, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Ashton was the one who blocked the kick to end the Broken Arrow game.
Yeah.
So you talk about, wow, two of the greatest victories, non-championship game victories in Jenks history, not involving Union. And then happened in a span of 3 weeks, and Ashton Cunningham, or 3 or 4 weeks, and Ashton Cunningham has blocked kicks or is part of a block kick at the end of each game. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, what a span, what a past 3 or 4 weeks it's been for Jenks. Even if they don't wind up winning a state title, this has been a special run for Jenks.
I told you, Barry, me and you talked last night, and I said, hey, by the end of that third quarter, my story was pretty much written and ready to be published. Ike Owens was struggling. The Jenks offense couldn't really move the ball down the field. The Mustang defense was just sending the house all the time, and they were getting to Ike Owens. And then 12 minutes later and 22 points later, Jenks came out with a win, and they're setting up for another, on paper, another all-time classic game this week, I think.
Yeah, Mustang is up by 19 going into the fourth quarter. I mean, that's what is so incredible. 19 points. And I think Keith Riggs' decision at the start of the fourth quarter, because not many coaches would have done this. You needed 3 scores to have a chance. And so he goes, attempts, sends out Andrew Purcell to kick a 52-yard field goal. Instead, most coaches would just say, try to go get a touchdown at that point, even though it's 4th and long. But Keith Riggs, I love that out of the box thinking, hey, we got to get 3 scores, so why not get the field goal now? And that really, that was a huge play, a huge call in that comeback.
when you've got a kid, when you got a 17, 18-year-old who can drill a 52-yarder on a 20-degree night, yeah, I'd say use him.
Yeah, great win for Jenks. I had some of my family members texting me during that game saying, doesn't look good, it's looking bad, then there you go. All right, guys, let's move ahead to this week where Jenks will yet again be involved in what we think will be a great game. But what do you guys think? Let's start there. Jenks-Bixby, 1:00 Friday. It's at Broken Arrow High School, 6A1 semifinals. Barry, once you start, and then Dean will get your thoughts on the game.
Well, I think, it's been a great run, as we talked about, for Jenks, but I don't see it continuing past this Friday. Although, again, as I say, it's sort of like the same with the Bill Blankenship coach team. I'm never going to discount Jenks, say they've got no chance of winning. I'm never going to say that, but I would just say that I would give Bixby a 90% chance of winning, even though Jenks won, defeated Bixby, ended their 58-game winning streak earlier this month. I just can't see Bixby losing twice to Jenks in a month. I mean, that would be mind-blowing. Again, if anyone could do it, it would be Jenks, but just can't see it happening. I mean, Bixby showed you what they're made out of. They came out on fire last week and ripped Enid 63-0. Bixby looked like it's back to being Bixby, and that Bixby is a juggernaut. I think they've got things figured out. They can learn a lot from that first Jenks game, and they won't be looking past them at all. They're going to be so fired up. And also from a Jenks standpoint, that game last week, the emotions in that game, that's got to take a lot out of you. I mean, wow. That was an incredible effort by them. And now you got to get it geared back up to play to play Bixby in this holiday week. That's asking a lot. Again, if anyone could do it, I would say it'd be Jenks, but just don't see it happening.
Dean, what do you think? How you seeing this one?
Yeah, so I think Barry makes the right points. I think we get to different conclusions, though. I agree on, hey, beating the same team twice in the same year is a hard feat at any level. High school, I mean, just look at last year. As somebody who covered Oklahoma State, hey, they pretty much rolled Baylor in the regular season, but when Big 12 championship game came, they couldn't do it. You see it in the NFL all the time when against these divisional opponents. It's a hard thing to do to be able to beat a team twice. But to Barry's point about the emotions, and yeah, that's going to be a mentally draining game that you just played against Mustang. And 2 weeks before that, it's going to be mentally draining when you snap Bixby's win streak. But what Jenks somewhat reminds me of, and Barry, I think you're going to get where I'm going with this, is they give me the kind of 2011 St. Louis Cardinals vibe. They have all these injuries during the season. They're able to keep winning, but they're kind of just down there. And then you start getting momentum and you start getting these big emotional wins. And what did the Cardinals do that year? They went on to win the World Series. Now I know baseball and football are completely different things here, but Jenks just has that feeling to me right now is, hey, they're the only team that's been able to do this. They're the only team that's been able to beat Bixby in however many years. It's going to be hard to do it again, but it almost feels like a team of destiny. And now I don't want to be bulletin board material for Bixby because let's not forget, like you say, Barry, this is Bixby. They know how to do this, and they've done it. They've done an incredible job moving up to 6A1 this year. But just to play devil's advocate here and make a separate point, I think Jenks, if anybody's going to do it, it's them.
Well, I love the baseball analogy, Dean, especially the 2011 Cardinals. I love that. And I can see that, and we said going into the Mustang game that Jenks is playing as well as anybody. So they definitely got that going with them. They've got incredible momentum. And they know the blueprint to defeating Bixby. All they have to do is follow that same blueprint this time around against Bixby again, and that is shorten the game by being able to run the ball, and don't give the ball away. Don't commit penalties. You do those things, you've got a good shot.
Barry, okay, what you just said that, Jenks is playing as well as anybody. What are they doing now that they weren't doing earlier?
For the most part, they're healthier.
Yeah.
I mean, so many key players. And Ike Owens is also playing at a very high level. Part of that is because they are healthier, because he's got more support with him. I mean, when they were without Ty Walls earlier this season, that was a huge loss. Very valuable player, both sides of the ball, and big time receiver. And also earlier in the season, Milton White, who Dean mentioned, he was sidelined with injuries. They just had so many injuries earlier in the year, and adding Maddox Gilkey on the line, coming over from Union at midseason, that was a big help. I mean, he's a really good player. So just getting all these players healthier, and I think that is the biggest difference for Jenks, because Ike Owens now has more support, and he's playing with a very high level of confidence. And he's also got, he's gained a lot of experience. They learned from their tough lessons earlier in the year.
Yeah. All right, let's stay in 6A1. This game will be 7 o'clock Friday, also at Broken Arrow High School. Kind of a surging Owasso team, maybe is fair to say, against undefeated Union. Barry, how you seeing this one?
Owasso is a great story. Wow. As I said, never discount a Bill Blankenship coach team. There's a reason why he's won so many state titles, won so many big games throughout the years, both at the college and high school levels. In Owasso, they looked like they were going to crater at midseason, 1-4, and then without Cole Adams, without Emery Neely, an outstanding running back, and yet they just get it together. I mean, they grind out 7 wins in a row to get to this spot. I mean, what an effort. Mason Willingham, he's playing at a bit sort of like Ike Owens. I look at them, it was tough sledding for them early in the year, but second half of the year, they both played really great, sort of under the radar. So Mason, he really did. You wonder how they're doing it on offense. Mason can run it, he can pass it. And they're just playing really good team complementary football. And so it's a great story. They also got helped out a little bit last week. And the fact that Norman North was out, it's great quarterback, 6 killer. But still, kudos to Owasso to going on the road and winning like that, winning 7 in a row. But I think their season probably is going to end against Union. Union, again, playing at an extremely high level all year long. Shaker Rice is just their quarterback, just so consistent every week. He knows what it's like to win a state title. You can't say that about many sophomore quarterbacks, but he's been there, done that last year with Jenks, and he's playing incredibly high level. Gino Boyd is the hottest receiver in the state. And then you've got Grayson Tempest there. And then you've got the best running back, one of the best running backs around, DJ McKinney. Great secondary. Union just looks, I think Union is too tough of a task for Owasso this week. Although I think Owasso, just like when they met early in the season, is going to hang around and make it tough. But I just think in the end, Union's too much.
Dean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Barry hit that perfectly. When I cheated a little bit, I talked to Barry last night, so we kind of know what we're all thinking here. But something I thought when I was chatting with him last night was, hey, when Cole Adams gets hurt in that first week, did we think Owasso was even going to be here at this point in the season? And Barry, yes, he makes the point, it's a Bill Blankenship team. Don't ever count them out. That is very true. But to me, they've exceeded expectations already. They've gotten to the semifinal round. You obviously can say that they were going to make the playoffs the whole time, and I wouldn't doubt you on that. But to get to this level, they've exceeded expectations in playing without Cole Adams, because he's the number 1 player in the state, arguably the number 1 player in the state. So just for that, I think this is a win for Owasso to get here. And hey, if they pull off some magic and they're able to upset Union, then it's almost kind of like Jinx. It's, hey, you know, defying expectations, a team of destiny. That gets thrown around a little bit too much in this day and age of a team of destiny. But hey, when you look at the situation and the mountains they've had to overcome, you've got to be happy if you're an Owasso fan and seeing this and enjoying this ride, because like Barry says, hey, Mason Willingham is playing great right now. He's not just their quarterback, he's their running back pretty much, with the amount that they let him run, and it's just week in and week out. Whenever you're reading the story about what Owasso did on Friday night, Mason Willingham is always going to be the focus of that story. And for that, I think it's great for the Rams.
Let's drop down to 5A real quick, guys. We're in the final rankings. Grove, Barry moved them to number 1 in the rankings. They've been kind of on a roll lately. They've got Midwest City Carl Albert on Saturday, 7 o'clock. Barry, where is that game?
That's at Owasso.
Well, that's right. That's right. It's in Owasso. Okay. So let's talk about that a little bit. Barry, how you seeing that one breaking down? You've seen Grove a couple of times in the last couple of weeks.
Yes, Grove, of course, very impressive. Emmanuel Crawford, again, would be, if the State Player of the Year was awarded right now, if we were the Tulsa World was awarding it right now, Emmanuel Crawford would be my pick. But there are a couple weeks of playoffs left, so it's still open. Emmanuel's got to keep doing it, but he is an incredible talent. The key to any team to beating Grove is obviously to be able to contain Emmanuel Crawford. They've had 2 close calls this year in both situations. He was held in check pretty well, at least until late in the game, and that kept those games in doubt until the very end. Last week, Emmanuel only, put that in quotation marks, only had 179 rushing yards. So, although a good chunk of that was like in the last 6 minutes of the game, when it was just a 1-point game, and he helped give them some separation with a couple big late runs. So you got to play 48 minutes against Emmanuel Crawford and Grove in order to beat them. However, if there's any team equipped to beat Grove, it's Midwest City Carl Albert. I mean, the tradition. They know what it's like to win a state title. They won 5 of them in the previous 6 years. So that makes this a very intriguing matchup. Grove's never won the gold ball. So you've got that contrast there. And Carl Albert is going to be really tough for Grove to beat. But of course, I'll say the same thing. Grove's going to be tough for Carl Albert to beat. So that's going to make for a great game at Owasso on Saturday night.
Dean, how you seeing this one?
Yeah, I agree. This is going to be. I'll say this just in hopes that I don't get my house egged by some more Grove fans. I think Grove does come out with the win here. The Emmanuel Crawford is just playing how he always plays, and hey, let's not discredit what Carson Trimble's done for that team, Barry. He's a great quarterback, and he often gets overshadowed by Emmanuel Crawford and what he does. But he's capable of making big plays and really fueling that offense when, hey, maybe Crawford's getting bottled up a little bit. Maybe they're figuring out how to stop him. Carson Trimble's able to just come in and make the plays needed to win games. And for that reason, I give Grove the slight edge here over Carl Albert. But like you said, Barry, especially at this point in the playoffs, history and tradition and a winning way is always worth something. And when you've got Carl Albert, like you said, 5 of the past 6, that's what's needed to beat a team like Grove, to have that kind of background. But I still give Grove the slight edge here.
Guys, who should be on upset watch this week? Dean, let's stay with you on this, and then we'll go to Barry. Who should be on upset watch?
Oh, no. I don't want to put it out there, but I think if anybody's going to beat Cushing, Elk City's got a pretty decent chance. Cushing is undefeated, and they've rolled, I always remember them shutting out Wagner back in October. But, hey, Elk City's 11-1. There's no reason to say they couldn't pull this off. I say that, and who knows, Cushing's probably going to win by 60 now. But that's when I think to keep a little bit of an eye on.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll say Cushing could maybe run into some trouble with Elk City, who I think is a very underrated team.
Barry, upset watch to you.
I know at this time of the year, when I look at the matchups this week, there's so many evenly matched matchups. So it's really hard. That makes it hard to really find a big upset. And if we're in the Oklahoma City area, I think they would be taking it for granted. Millwood would easily beat Claremore Sequoia in 2A, but I'm gonna say, hey, look out for Claremore Sequoia. They're really impressive. Big win last week at Eufaula. So I'm gonna say, again, this is like a number 2 versus 3 matchup. So it's not like some huge upset in my mind, but I think a lot of people in Oklahoma City would be stunned by Claremore Sequoia beating Millwood. And I'd also say along those lines, Verdigris and Heritage Hall. I think in Oklahoma City, they wouldn't expect. I mean, they're already putting Heritage Hall in the championship game. But hey, Verdigris is tough. So I think those are the 2 games as far as upset watch that I'm going with.
Barry, let's give a shout out to our student picker in the playoffs, Ella Drake from Regent Prep. We were talking about her a little bit before we went live here. Why don't you just share a little bit about how good her picks have been recently?
Yes. She was 13-2 last week, beat me last week. So kudos to her. And she's picked 1 week in the regular season. She's 13-2 that week too, which helped get her the consideration to be the student picker throughout the playoffs, which we annually do. We usually take one of the best student pickers from the regular season and have them do the playoff picks. So that's how she got that. And so she's for the season, she's got 80% of her picks correct. I mean, the student pickers as a whole were better than they've ever been, at least in recent years this year. And she's certainly got a great record herself through her first 3 weeks of picking. And she also had a great volleyball season. More importantly, she's an outstanding volleyball athlete as well. So it's been great to have her as our student picker in the playoffs. And we will continue to have her through the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah, volleyball is her day job, and she's pretty good at that too. Guys, real quick, tell us where you're going to be this weekend. Barry, where are you going to be this weekend?
I'll be at Broken Arrow all day on Friday, so that'll be good. Love the opportunity to see both 6A1 semifinals. That's great. It's a rarity to get to do that, so looking forward to that. And then on Saturday night, I'll be watching McAllister and McGinnis.
And you'll have Bill Haston with you on Friday night at both games?
Yes.
All right. Dean, weekend plans?
I'm going up to Ponca City for some Deer Creek and Stillwater action.
Very nice. What day is that?
That's Friday night.
Do anything Saturday?
Saturday, I will be at Boone Pickens Stadium.
Of course.
Coverage. That's
right. That's right. All right, guys. Anything else we need to get to before we go to some final thoughts?
I just encourage everyone to go watch high school football on Friday and or Saturday. A lot of great matchups as the games are running out. This is we only have a couple weeks left, really. We've got the 6 championship games, state championship games next week, and then we've got 3 the following week. So the high school football season's almost over. So get out and attend a game while you've got a chance.
I'll tell you what, the Bixby Jenks game is a gift at 1 o'clock on a Friday, assuming that a lot of people are going to be off for the Thanksgiving holiday. So it doesn't, it's early, it's just, I'll be there.
Broken Arrow's a really nice place to have these games too.
Yeah, absolutely. Dean, how about final thoughts from you?
I want to point out the weather we've been having and kind of There's some kids who showed some grit out there in the 20-degree weather on a Friday night when you got some snow, it's windy, and half these kids don't even put on the big puffer jackets on the sideline. They grind it out, and I think that's really impressive. And these kids love it, and they're fighting through it, because when the wind chill has you down at about 19 degrees and you're trailing by 19 points, it's very easy to give up if you're Jenks in that situation. But they didn't. And I thought that was very impressive of them.
All right, guys, let's leave it there for now. We appreciate everybody joining us and giving us a listen. You can download us for free at Google, Apple, or Spotify. We come at you every week, usually on a Monday. So, guys, have a good week. Happy holidays, and we'll catch you up next Monday.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.